I almost hate to interrupt this great music. Welcome everyone to the Project Mercury Innovation Showcase for Cohort 12. My name is Mo Barrett, retired Air Force Colonel turned unforgettable experiences comedian, and I will be your MC for today's showcase. This promises to be an uplifting experience with fewer tears than the last episode of Bluey and without cutting to local news broadcast during the final verse of Piano Man. So first, a special welcome to the Project Mercury alumni and Project Mercury innovators in residence who know that one of the best tools from Project Mercury is the community of Air and Space Force innovators, including our industry and academia partners. This network will continue well beyond Project Mercury, so thank you to everyone for your investment into the never-ending quest for change. For our first-time guests, you are in for a treat, as today is National Day of the Mushroom. We have some amazing teams of fun guys and fun gals ready to get you into the innovative spirit. These are the jokes, folks. They have prepared non-sporing presentations that will be a great way to cap off your day. The members of Cohort 12 have completed an academic program complete with lessons on building and leveraging diverse teams through a productive process that leaves so mushroom for innovation. Okay, enough of the mushroom wordplay. I will put those back in the dark where they belong. The Cohort 12 team presentations are what belong in the spotlight today. Just like Beyonce going country, these teams have demonstrated a willingness to explore new territories and defy conventional categorizations, challenging existing norms to pave the way for something new. Project Mercury has tasked these innovators to contribute to a more innovative and creative environment. So these teams will mention the problems they scoped and the real solutions they experimented with in order to pursue innovative solutions that might not be sought out otherwise. Right now, taking a break from trying to assure the IRS that the check is in the mail, we are honored to have three esteemed panel members who will don their green visors and review today's presentations and ultimately select our award winners. Chairing the panel and our host for today's event is Brigadier General Randy Oakland, Air Education and Training Command Director of Operations and Communications. Jesse Levin, Defense Entrepreneurs Forum Executive Director. And finally, Lieutenant Colonel Julie Pistol Janson, someone who's contributed enormously to Project Mercury as a master coach and mentor. Pistol is an Air Force Information Operations Officer by trade and actually helped found the IO specialization. She is currently serving as the military assistant to the NATO Joint Warfare Center in Stavanger, Norway. So thank you to you three for investing your time to make today's event a rich experience. I would also like to recognize Cohort 12 and TIE model, Ethan Eagle, and Innovatrium founders, Dr. Jeff and Stanny DeGraff. Got all the people here. The Innovatrium brought in several ringers from military, academia, and industry to help these teams develop their projects. Mary Hinesley, Michelle Coyle, Professor Daryl Holness, Dr. Joe Byram, Dr. Heinz Plowman, and Jim Fish. These innovators in residence provide invaluable input and feedback to our teams as they develop their pitches. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now my pleasure to introduce the head of today's panel, Brigadier General Oakland.
All right, thank you, Mo. Appreciate it. What a pleasure to be here. I think we have people coming from all over the place, but I'm coming to you from San Antonio, Texas, where it's pretty warm, but not as warm as it's going to get. So I don't know if we have any mushrooms growing here yet, but maybe I'll check after today's presentations. So I look forward to that. But for everybody, what a great opportunity today to share some great work that's been done, some ideas. Some effort that's been put in to really get after some tough challenges, and I'm excited to listen to the pitches as we press through today's panel and event. So thank you all for joining us. I certainly want to give a special shout out to Dr. DeGraff. Thank you for being here, sir. What a delight that you could be here and be a part of this. To Jesse and to Pistol, whether it's what is it, 1 in the afternoon here or whatever time it might be there, really great that you could contribute and be a great asset to this particular event as part of the panel. and we really look forward to your participation. I will say, it's true that I'm in this role, but I'm also new to Project Mercury, so this is going to be a full circle event for me. I'm really looking forward to learning about it more, and certainly interested in the ideas that are coming forward today. So understand we have 6 teams here in Cohort 12. And as I had a chance to just get a little bit of an idea of the things we're talking about, it really does sound like innovation in a pretty cool way. So everything from potential for really improving and enhancing how we do logistics to more, I guess, innovation-oriented things like AI and drones that you might associate with that space. Everything from human performance all the way into things like mesh networks and the like. So really quite a diverse number of presentations, and I think it's going to be an awesome opportunity to get to see all of that. And as I understand it, there's been some pretty hard work going on those projects for about the last 12 weeks, and some great collaboration among a lot of very motivated and interesting folks. So it's going to be awesome. Research, studies, interviews, experiments, hard-hitting feedback. That's what I understand to have kind of been behind all of this. And so no question there'll be some great discussion and presentations today. And I think the collaborative approach across a bunch of different expertise is really the part that makes it the most interesting. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing the result of the great work, to see the accomplishments that we've gotten to so far today. And so really the big thanks goes to our participants who put in that effort and time to get here to this moment. So really appreciate that, and look forward to all that you're going to represent in terms of the effort that you put in. So that's it for opening comments. Really appreciate it, Mo, and I'll give it back to you.
Awesome. Thank you, General. Appreciate it. Next up, as you mentioned, we will welcome to the screen Dr. Jeff DeGraff, the founder of the Innovatrium and builder of Project Mercury's curriculum. Dr. DeGraff is a professor of practice at the Ross School of Business at the University of, is it Minnesota, sir? I always forget. Oh, Michigan. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, thanks.
You, sir.
It's wonderful also having Randy and Jesse and Pistol. And boy, I hope you're excited. I think that's the big thing. I'm in DC today. I'm here for a program for the SAF. And I could tell you that up and down the Air Force, innovation is top shelf. It's one of the most important things we're working on. We're counting on you guys. This is not a checklist kind of a thing. There's going to be a lot of ambiguity you're going to have to deal with. It's a long game we're playing here, and we're only going to see version 1 today. This is your first version. What's key, and Mo had said this, is building this community, building this culture, this competency, this community muscle, which is how we did it at Apple, it's how we did it at Google, and it's how we're going to do it at the U.S. Air Force. Now, some of you know that I can be kind of hard on you. I'm the old dog here. So I'm trying to help you. I want everybody to know that I love you. I care about you. I'm trying to help you get to the next place. I can be a little brusque. So hopefully you'll take that in stride. And I'm very much committed to helping you guys get across the goal line on this. So go team, ready to see some real terrific stuff.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Now, Cohort 12 focused on problem sets addressed in Air Force Secretary Kendall's keynote address at AFA, accelerating readiness for great power competition. All teams were charged with building collaborative networks outside of the traditional Air Force lanes, and over the past 12 weeks, in addition to their regular jobs, these teams worked through stubborn problems with an inordinate amount of ambiguity, like Dr. DeGraff said, and looked outside the box for tactics that can make a disproportionate impact. This cohort is extremely diverse. We have participants from all over the globe, to include U.S. Air Force folks in Japan and all across the U.S., Test Pilot School, Secretary of the Air Force Rapid Capabilities Office, representatives from the Navy, Marine Corps, a U.S. Space Force coach, 2 UK Army participants, a team from NATO, as well as 2 NATO coaches. This is the second NATO team we've had, and we're looking forward to the stand-up of a NATO Project Mercury this summer. The team started Project Mercury with an in-person jumpstart in DC. Then they spent 12 weeks juggling academics and a self-selected team project, again, along with their normal day jobs. That experience helped them cultivate the 3 C's of innovation: culture, competency, and community. They're ready to share and discuss their findings with our esteemed panel and you, our innovation community. Round 1 will be 3 condensed pre-recorded pitches, each followed by 5 minutes of Q&A. Then after that, we'll roll into round 2, which is 3 live pitches, each followed by 10 minutes of Q&A. This is an interactive event, so throughout all the pitches, comment, share information, get connected in the chat, comment on my puns as long as they're positive. And then all 16 videos will be made available after the event on our LinkedIn page, and we'll put the link to that page in the chat. Then you can watch all the pitches all over again. But before we roll those videos, we need you to put on your best critic hat, because at the end of these first 3 pitches, you, the audience, will be voting for the best short version pitch. The team with the most votes receives the coveted Project Mercury People's Choice Award. All right, our first video is from our NATO team, Team 6, the Innonators. They looked at how innovation might facilitate more interoperability within NATO and between allies. They were coached by Laura Wilson and Cleo Smith. Innonators, if you can, give us your best on-camera wave so we know who you are. And for all of our spectators, remember that these innovators collaborated despite being geographically separated. So if we could, roll their video, please.
We are NATO.
We are allies.
We are innovators.
We are Innonators.
We are 32 nations under the umbrella of NATO. Together, we protect our security and freedom, but the world is changing rapidly, so we have to adapt. Innovation is the heartbeat of progress. 32 nations working on interoperability to be ready for day 0. Now imagine each nation bringing their own musicians, playing their own instruments. All of us like music, but no one likes noise. Each nation is in itself a great artist, with their own style, tempo, and rhythm. But what happens when they all get together and play the way they are used to? This is an urgent problem. NATO reported in 2024 that the willingness of nations to contribute to shared lessons learned has decreased by 26% over the last 5 years. An illustrative example is 4 NATO nations experimenting with the same unmanned ground vehicle and reaching the same dead end. This is a clear price tag for disconnection. Furthermore, this report from last year shows that the level of implementation of interoperability standards is too low and declining. These quotes from NATO officials underline the need for closer collaboration between innovation communities to meet the warfighters' needs. Our target is to connect NATO innovation communities to be better prepared for day 0. This question of interoperability starts with interlinking entities. For that, we will leverage an already existing structure, the NATO Innovation Network, run by Allied Command Transformation.
To unlock the potential of the NATO Innovation Network for your innovators, our team of Innonators has created the NATO Open Innovation Conference and Exhibit in Portugal next September. This will be the kickstart to a new battle rhythm with you as member of the network. Join us on this new stage for the first day of training and leave with access to ACT's innovation arsenal and our restricted digital innovation platform. At Noise, our Innonators are ready to create tailor-made engagement plans with your representatives. You will be brought up to speed on the latest innovation efforts, allowing you to focus on your own. After joining us, ACT's innovation tools will be ready to support you in your innovation efforts. Noise 24 will be your opportunity to join the new network and increase interoperability and your readiness for day 0. We'll provide the stage, you bring the instrument. Join us in Portugal, or you will miss out from the very beginning. Instead of just hearing noise, let's create some real noise.
Awesome. That is fantastic. And I will withhold any more cowbell references. General Oakland, as an NGEPT grad, you will get the first question for the Innonators. What comments, questions, or pushback do you have?
Excellent. Thank you. So I appreciate the NGEPT shout out. Absolutely where I started my flying career. So No question about the importance of the alliance and what that does for security concerns across the globe, really. But I think I guess my question is for the team, not really pushback, but in terms of immediate wins or like a significant impacts. With all that's going on in Europe right now, I'm just curious. Can you describe how you think a short-term or a relatively quick win might be associated with what you're working on here? That'd be my question.
Thank you, General. This is Bart. I will be answering the questions. You might recognize my voice from the wonderful voiceover on the video. What we found during our Project Mercury journey really was that there's a lot of positive attitudes throughout the alliance to the concept of innovation, but a lot of nations, especially in Europe and in the eastern part of Europe, go at it alone. They do not share lessons learned, even though they do want to. But the question is how and with whom, how do I find these people? So for us, the power for this really lies within what Jeff mentioned just a while ago, the collaborative network that is absent or not present on a NATO scale yet. So for us, the quick benefit to this is after this event and leading up to this event, we will engage every allied state through their NLRs and through our personal networks as well, and bring them together. So that this network really can kick off, and just bringing people inside of the room is the first quick win and quick step to this productive network. And for us, then the work begins, of course. But that would be the answer to your question. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Appreciate it.
So we have about a couple more minutes. If the panel has any other questions, or I can fire one out there, but if the panel has any more questions.
Yeah, I'd like to jump in here. This is a really good idea, but you have to really work at this a little bit. This is how academics do really big research on a regular basis, on a heavy lift. So when you have these meetings, it's always wise to have a theme, right? So that everybody isn't just coming and doing whatever. You're also going to find that you get subgroups that kind of self-organize around problems, right? Make sure that those subgroups have an identity and that there's an output, because what you're really trying to do is start something. The big problem with most conferences is they start something and nothing happens on the other end. And then what you want to do, once you've got some outputs coming, you also want to prime the pump for younger people. This is the old dog talking. You've got to have dynastic capability, which means the next group has to come in. So you should pay attention. I advise you to pay attention to how biotechs work and how we work in the tech economy, and we work across borders. In fact, I will even say I've got a big project right now, a huge project with an Ohio State professor. So that tells you that everybody can collaborate at some point in life if you can get a Michigan and Ohio State guy. I actually really like the idea. Good start.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Yeah, so is Vice Admiral Robinson sponsoring you, or who's your champion in this effort?
Our champion currently is our ACAUS requirements, Brigadier General Jurgensen, but up to SecT himself is aware of the project, and even though he's not actively sponsoring it, he stands behind our message.
So what I would take advantage of, to Dr. DeGraff's point, is that Vice Admiral Robinson has just been named the lead for MDO for NATO, and we know that that is a huge topic right now for NATO, and that is an area where innovation can speak volumes, particularly because we've done such a poor job defining it. So if you do pursue a theme, which I highly recommend, so that you just don't get a ton of cats showing up and confusing everything, to your music analogy, having that theme, and I think MDO could be an extremely strong starter theme that would get a lot of attention.
Thank you, ma'am. I think that's a great idea. I mean, MDO in itself has this interoperability question, so it only stands to reason that we've related to that. A bit of background information. Most of our team works at the NATO Innovation Hub at HQ SecT, so we're very well aware of the MDO theme in there. So we'll probably pick the theme. What we do want to do and that's probably to add on our video, if I may, is also focus on innovation as a capability, as to not get lost in the jungle of technological possibilities, which of course is great, but also invites people to create their own groups, etc. Is to really differentiate ourselves and focus on how can we get this innovative mindset in these member states, or sorry, member nations, and how can we foster this innovative community. Over.
That's awesome. Sorry to cut you off there, Pistol. Yeah, no, thank you, Team 6. Thank you, Bart. And again, like we're using the chat to respond to the OHIO chant that Dr. DeGraff started. Please keep that conversation going in there if you have any follow-on questions, and we will have breakout rooms open after the showcase. So thank you to Team 6 and Bart for your great voiceover work. Now we have Team 4. What about lunch? Who's looking at leveraging AI for rapid data synthesis and decision-making. Team 4 was coached by Mary Beth Slocum and Dolly Morales. So here we go, Team 4.
Hello there. We're Team What About Lunch, and today we want to talk to you about AI-enhanced decision-making. We all know that intel drives ops, but commanders need credible, actionable, and timely intelligence in order to make the best decisions. However, timeliness decreases as our ability to collect data only continues to increase. Today, the DoD collects over 1 petabyte of data every day. That's the equivalent of 16,000 iPhones. An intel analyst needs to understand hundreds of documents to provide their commanders with actionable intel. If they're tired or overburdened, they could miss something important or provide the wrong information, and people will die. If there are tools available today to help us mitigate these risks, why wouldn't we use them?
Primary AI's Delta tool is a web-based application that can ingest, review, and summarize 2,500 documents in the time it takes an analyst to read just one. This could save over 5.5 hours per analyst per day of material review, simultaneously decreasing the workload burden while enhancing the decision-making process. Delta is available today with a continuous ATO to operate on Nipper, Sipper, and JWICs through Palantir. It has a natural language query capability, automatically drives classification levels, can work in disconnected environments, and has an industry-leading error rate, meaning the results are more trustworthy than ChatGPT 4.0. So what we're asking for is your help. Your help providing our airmen with the latest tools and technologies that will enable them to more effectively execute their mission in a dynamic, complex environment. Work with us to rapidly integrate this technology into the U.S. Air Force, 1 unit at a time, beginning with yours.
Fantastic. Thank you. We will start off the 5 minutes for questions. Pistol, I will give you the first one. What comments, questions, or pushback do you have?
Yeah, so obviously AI is a big topic right now. There is a lot of interest and also a lot of fear about this topic among some leaders. So how can you, getting into the classification always comes up, security of our material. So putting this kind of information into databases, cranking it out, what is your answer when inevitably that question comes up?
Yeah, thank you for the question. It continues to come up, and I think one of the things we're relying on is that they have already established themselves. This specific application from Primary AI has already established themselves on multiple classified networks, so already approved to operate on JWICs, which is significant, I think. We also have
a question, or okay. For the panel, we've got about 1:15 minutes left. We still have the team here. Does any other panel member have a question?
I just have an overall question. It just seems, if anybody's been following the Stanford studies on ChatGPT, what's happening is it's getting dumber because everybody's using it, and the dumber, regresses to the mean, which is very disappointing. So the real challenge, I think, that we're having sort of in the academic community about this is curating this is very hard to do, right? Because it's an area of expertise. This relates to Pistol's comment, right? And if you don't curate it or don't create sort of a specialized sort of version of this, like the old version of the well used to be when Silicon Valley was starting out, then the notion is then you have to sort of deal with this on the other end of it. And then the final issue, which I think is really key, even though it's a mid or back office function, the more predictable something is, the more, remember, the enemy, the peer adversary, also has very good AI tools, excellent AI tools. So in a sense, in some ways, it makes it easier to hear you. So the real question I think about this in the back isn't just accuracy. It isn't just about efficiency. It's about, does that create something downstream that creates vulnerability, predictability for us? That becomes the bigger question.
Thanks, sir.
Go ahead,
Sorry,
Jason.
go ahead.
No, go ahead, Jason.
I was going to say, first of all, Primer offers multiple different ways to house the data, whether it's on their own networks or on our internal networks, which I believe would offer some means of how to properly curate that data over the long term. If that was intended to be an open-ended question, then Jeff, we can stop it there.
Yeah,
But
keep using the chat for that, and I appreciate, again, this whole sense of community is the good thing that we have here. Since Jeff DeGraff is always dropping really good word phrases for us, I just want to make sure that if you're ever looking for a sick burn and you want to call someone and say that they're getting dumber, just tell them that they're regressing to the mean, because that means getting dumber. So thank you for that, Jeff. I appreciate that. All right. Thank you, Team 4. Now we have Team 2, Hide and Seek, who focused on reimagining operations under episodic air superiority and then zeroed in on drones to serve as a shield, enhancing the survivability of critical assets. Team 2 with Ghost Shield was coached by Paul Ellis and Ralph Peter. I had some drone jokes from the last cohort, but they didn't really take off. So I was thinking, though, if Team 4 and Team 2 got together, we could serve T-drone steaks. No? Nothing? Okay. I have entered the danger drone. Okay. I will let Team 2 blow their drone horn. That's right, Danny. Now, for those of you listening with headphones, please be advised that the first part of the video is louder than fans cheering on Travis and Taylor at Coachella. So if you have your hearing test coming up, you have been warned. The first part of the video is loud.
Prepare to witness a revolution in warfare. Our groundbreaking initiative is set to redefine the battlefield and ensure the survival of our critical assets. Introducing the game-changer, low-cost, attritable asset decoys. The average airfield holds hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars worth of aircraft assets, not to include the additional billions of dollars of infrastructure to support them. At the cost of an estimated $50,000 per unit, our solution could protect these assets, making it one of the cheapest cost per asset protection insurance plans on Earth. In the face of relentless enemy targeting, our critical assets are constantly under threat. This jeopardizes mission success and compromises our strategic advantage. We need a solution that not only outsmarts the enemy, but also guarantees a 90% survivability rate for our assets by 2025. Our audacious approach, low-cost, attritable asset decoys. These cutting-edge decoys are not just mere distractions. They are the ultimate hide-and-seek players. Like children playing hide-and-seek, these decoys expertly conceal our high-value assets, confusing and eluding the enemy. Our high-quality target provide a low-cost, attritable asset decoy that can ensure a 90% survivability rate of our critical assets by 2025. Prepare for a paradigm shift in warfare. Our solution offers unparalleled benefits. First, it provides an affordable alternative to traditional protective measures, freeing up resources for other critical needs. Second, it ensures the survival of our assets, enabling us to outmaneuver and outwit our adversaries. We are Team Hide and Seek. Mike Rutland, Colt Brock, Aja Pierce, David Eckstein, Mike Fowler, and our coaches, Paul Ellis and Ralph Peter. We are excited to announce we will be in partnership with National Security Innovation Network, INSIN, leveraging their Azimuth and Capstone programs to address our key challenge, Our problem statement and use case will be featured in their repository with the goal of attracting interest from universities. This collaboration presents a unique opportunity to drive research and develop solutions tailored to our high-value target. Thank you for your attention. Brace yourselves for a new era of warfare, where our attritable asset decoys become the masterful players of hide-and-seek, protecting our high-value assets with unmatched skill. Together, let's forge a path to victory and secure a future where our enemies are left searching in vain.
Very nice. Love it. All right, Jesse, we're going to turn the questions over to you. First question, what do you think of my drone puns? And then secondly, what comments, questions, or pushback do you have for this team?
Drone puns are absolutely phenomenal. Made the day. Thank you for that. 10 points. The solution, obviously, I mean, this is a hot topic right now. For any of us been running around Ukraine or watch what just happened with Iran and Israel, and have looked at kind of defense spending writ large. There's a lot going on with counter, UAS and, vulnerability. And it really brings up an issue we look at a lot, where there's prime spending a tremendous amount of money on developing, exquisite weapon systems to deal with this. But there's also folks like Androl and, individuals and small ad hoc entrepreneurial groups in Ukraine developing solutions for next to no resources in operational environments. So curious as to what you all have done in researching the ecosystem in regards to situations overseas and what's in play currently, because there's a lot of stuff that's on the ground and working right now. What gives you a competitive advantage over, say, an Androl? Because everybody is looking at this situation. Clearly the need is there, but this is also a very competitive space. And have you identified any, call it shortcuts or way to arbitrage the inefficiencies in the acquisition system to get this into play more rapidly than is typically we typically see? Thank you.
Hey, yes, sir. This is Colt Brock from Team 2. So yeah, we've definitely been in talks with Geist Robotics, who's actually doing a lot of stuff over in Ukraine. And this is kind of a counterpoint to the math problem that we lose in great power competition of I'm spending hundreds of thousands of dollars in anti-air defense to take out thousands of dollars of incoming. So we're trying to flip that on its head. And like, I don't have to have the greatest, best small UAS to take out the incoming stuff. I need something just good enough to take it out. So we're trying to flip it up and go with a much lower cost capability that's just flood the skies with basically a bunch of steerable flak that can get in the way of incoming munitions. Over.
So replicator incarnate.
Pretty much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jesse and Colt. Is there any other panel members who've got questions? I see some chatter going on in the chat too, so that's good. But any other panel members have any questions?
Hey, this is Randy Oakland. I want to just, I think it's a really interesting project. And I guess when it comes to where we are with kind of technology writ large, it seems like it almost looks like we're trying to go more toward mass here in a way that seems opposite of where we've been recently, and I think in an interesting way because of the intent for a low price point. So my question is just, is there, other than the primary use for these things, has the team discussed other alternative uses for them? So in other words, I don't know that we necessarily have an expectation for how money might be attrited, but for those that remain operable, are they doing anything else other than providing that that concealment capability that you're primarily looking for?
Yes, sir. So our team recently, about 3 weeks ago, did a major pivot. Went from looking at a problem set that was completely different than this. So we're still playing catch up. We've got call out with ACC A4S, the 1180A out of Japan. So we're still talking to those folks, but absolutely, yeah. So if these things don't get attrited, they're still going to have basic capabilities, cameras. We can load various software packages on them and retool and reuse them. Ideally, they're going to already be in use in a lot of everyday activities. And then if an inbound threat comes, it's already out there flying around the flight line. It goes. It gets redirected from current mission set, does what it needs to do. If it comes back, great. If not, oh well. because it's low cost.
Okay, great. I appreciate that. There's probably some things to be looked at in terms of deconfliction. What I like about this idea is that it potentially empowers a much kind of lower echelon of command to have resources available to do, more tactical things. But it's always the coordination and control of that I think is the challenge. So I think it's really an interesting concept, and I appreciate the presentation.
All right, and there's some questions as well, again, in the chat. If you guys want to address those in the chat, we can do that. But if you don't have any more, Team 2, we can press on.
Quickly,
All right.
Mo. So
yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, I think you guys. I'm getting a huge echo. Okay. I think you guys can refine your message here. So in your, and this is just, it's equally important, right? That how you sell the thing. So I got a lot of like how great this is, but I didn't get a lot of the how or why. Like what is also, obviously there are some threats that this is more important for than others. So I think you just want to maybe zero in, get a little more specific and kind of get into that how. And also I think you could really be leveraging the increased focus on perception management. In deception language, we use terms of increased ambiguity and decreased ambiguity. I think speaking to those terms of increasing ambiguity, which is, altering the adversary's decision-making process. So much of deception is about buying time. These are terms, this is language that will really resonate. So yeah, I think there's just some refinement to this message that will actually get you a lot further.
Yes, ma'am. That's solid feedback. In fact, that was a stat we threw and led with our last cross check. Was a recent war game showed that roughly 90% of the assets will get taken out before they ever even get off the ground. And that's kind of where this concept came up, is what can we do to buy them time to get off the ground and get in the fight before they just blow up sitting on the runway.
Yeah, lead with that.
Yes, ma'am.
Awesome. Love it. All right, so thank you to our first 3 teams. Team 6, the Innovators. Team 4, what about lunch? Team 2, hide and seek. Now, to the Zoom community, now it is your time to vote on the People's Choice Award. Using the poll that will open up here in a second, you will choose which team has proposed how to solve a real problem with a real solution, and if it has the wow factor. The poll is only going to be open for 2 minutes, so vote now, vote once, and we'll collect the results and announce the winner during the awards portion of the showcase. All right, people are voting already. Love it. While teams 6, 4, and 2 can rest easy until the awards portion, we will now transition to our second half of presentations, which are our 3 live pitches. I will introduce Team 5, Dragonfly. First, they have embarked on a mission to redefine logistical support in contested environments. The team was coached by John Reeves and Tony Evangelista. And if you have any questions or comment, you can use the chat feature to ask them. Dragonfly, the screen is yours.
My mic was not working. It's working now. Fantastic. Good afternoon, everybody. We are Project Dragonfly. We have devised an agile solution to one of the toughest dilemmas facing the Air Force's concept of agile combat deployment, or ACE. Dragonfly solves the dilemma for mission-critical, small batch logistics during congested operations. During a recent deployment at a permissive airfield, my squadron had a critical tool break. And without this tool, it meant mission failure for our fighter aircraft. Even worse, the replacement tool through military supply was scheduled to take weeks. Luckily, someone from another unit simply shipped us a FedEx package with this tool. This got our F-15s operational within days, not weeks. Military supply is similar to the reliable but slow U.S. Postal Service, but FedEx saw the opportunity in rapid point-to-point deliveries. Just as FedEx re-engineered rapid logistics, Dragonfly can reroute aircraft for critical cargo. With Dragonfly, a dispersed squadron can internally execute decentralized logistics using their own squadron's aircraft. The Secretary of the Air Force has tasked airmen under Operational Imperative Number 5, stating, sustainment in a contested environment means developing adaptable logistics solutions. We must be able to operate even when challenged by enemies. Turning to ACE operations, 4 teams will be highly reliant on military logistics, and FedEx cannot come to the rescue this time. Without increased agile logistics, deployed teams face mission failure and even death. Congested logistics are guaranteed against a pacing adversary. Timely access to essential logistics will be key to victory. We must enable agile and efficient mission support. This is what ensures mission readiness and combat capability. Our inspiration came across nature. We researched bees and ants known for their decentralized organizations and tiny larvae that morph into swift, maneuverable dragonfly with precision landings. By integrating these insect superpowers, we have re-engineered contested logistics.
By swapping gator mines with cargo, we propose to you the Dragonfly Precision Cargo Dispenser. Inspired by the Dragonfly's swift maneuverability and precision landings, the Dragonfly is custom built for the unforeseen. If we knew exactly what the critical widget we needed was, we would just pre-position it. But as Victor Hugo said, we must foresee the unforeseen. Dragonfly thrives in the unforeseen. It was designed to enable rapid, decentralized resupply without extreme risk during contested operations. We have identified key requirements and believe the Dragonfly could be applied to other weapons, like a small diameter bomb, to create future Dragonfly variants. But this Dragonfly is one of the most economical means for covert delivery. And unlike other bombs, the precision-guided Gator was engineered to safely emplace explosive mines. By replacing the Gator with cargo, 2 Dragonflies on an F-35 represent food and water or ammunition for Special Forces team for over 1 week, thus making Dragonfly the ideal device to safely deliver critical cargo. Dragonfly allows commanders flexible options for deliveries. Given specific aircraft and their associated acceptable levels of risk, with a 12-mile standoff range, the Dragonfly does not require overflight required by current cargo aircraft. Delivery by an offensive fighter or bomber aircraft integrates deception into logistics. Dragonfly is optimized for small, critical deliveries during contested operations. This enables deceptive delivery to joint frontline troops where we cannot accept the level of risk to a mobility aircraft, or equally deadly, that a cargo aircraft would compromise the forward troop location.
Project Dragonfly is an innovation project to deliver critical cargo components to troops deployed forwards using pods released from jets. In this example, we look at the second island chain. Here, we see a C-130 moving to drop a small but critical part for maintainers to make an F-15 airworthy that is forward deployed on an island. As our wargame simulations have shown, China identified the C-130 moving to drop the cargo and destroy it. Additionally, the location of the F-15 on the ground is given to the enemy. The F-15 on the island remains non-airworthy. However, as our simulations have shown, if Dragonfly had been used, the parts would have reached the maintainers, making the F-15 airworthy and taskable, whilst its position would not have been given away. As a foreship of US fighters route to destroy a Chinese target, they route via the F-15 on the ground and release Dragonfly, then continue on their route to target. The part has now arrived with the F-15 maintainers on the island. These highly skilled airmen, far from base but provided with the tools they need, quickly make the aircraft airworthy and it launches on task.
As seen in our wargame simulations, once conflict begins, cargo aircraft will be at extreme risk. In order to be prepared for a Taiwan invasion by 2027, we need an immediate logistical solution. The solution is simple: adapt existing technology for covert air delivery. By designating an ALR medium, it allows commanders to determine the risk and resupply success. To ensure resupply of mission critical items, forward teams will need to rely on highly survivable logistics. Current civilian and military supply channels will no longer be effective. However, stealth and fighter aircraft will be required to continue their missions. What is the value of 2 Dragonflies in an F-35 mission? The value is the adaptability, the ability to adapt to the unforeseen. It represents delivering a critical part that completes an entire C2 forward node, or getting a fighter operational. An F-35 sortie is worth saving the lives of a special warfare team, and it's certainly far cheaper than the loss of a $340 million C-17. Great power competition requires innovative methods for logistics. Dragonfly is a solution that fills an operational constraint, creating a new capability that reduces strategic risk, generates readiness, and enables power projection. What we would like to ask AETC is to do your own model and sim. And when you confirm that Dragonfly is a viable solution, then include our TTPs into your contested logistics doctrine. And if anyone has a shortcut or a connection to get Dragonfly straight to operational test. From Napoleon to Bradley, military experts have stated, amateurs discuss tactics while the professionals discuss logistics. Now is the time to get behind Dragonfly and begin operational testing. The QR code here has our contact info. Please reach out to us. We're standing by for your questions.
Awesome. Great work, Team Dragonfly, and all the entomologists in the world are grateful for biomimicry. So it's time for the panel's comments and questions. Jesse, we're going to let you kick it off again.
Yeah, I love the agroecological reference. Contested environment logistics, obviously, hugely important. One recommendation of the presentation is we don't want to punish our ODAs by dropping MREs. Maybe you could include like some kind of organic food supplement or something like that. But a couple things to think about. One is it sounds like that this is airframe agnostic, which is obviously really important. How does this apply? Again, I don't want to keep throwing Ukraine out there, but obviously contested airspace aren't a lot of active airframes. We talk about likely threat environments we're going to face. It's going to be a very different environment in the air vis-a-vis Taiwan or otherwise. But let's say something kicks off in the Baltics and we don't have a lot of airframes flying for geopolitical reasons. How do we kind of leverage or how does a solution come into play? I love it overall. It's great, guys, and cheap and seemingly platform agnostics. Very cool. Thank you for sharing.
So the good thing about it, I guess, is pretty simple, is that it has a 12-mile standoff range. That allows us not to ingress certain borders. It doesn't necessarily get us all the way to the front lines. But even though we might not have a lot of aircraft, the fact that it can go on an F-35, it gives it some stealth capability, that low observable. So if we're not flying there anyway, I wouldn't necessarily see a team being as far forward if there's no air support. At some point, an aircraft's going to have to come over. If you are talking Ukraine, maybe it's an F-16 from Ukraine, or if it's a NATO partner, either way. That applies across the board, that it can be adapted to a pretty significant amount of airframes. And future variants, we're thinking small diameter bombs, so even extend that out to the future concept, loyal wingman, so it gives it a full LO capability going forward.
Yeah, I guess last thing I'd say is if there's any way to adapt this from like a ground launch or munitions perspective, I think the applicability would drastically increase.
And actually, we did look into that from the very beginning. The small diameter bomb is launched from a HIMARS missile, and that can be launched from the ground. So they have those in Ukraine right now. They're using them to target, but we could just adapt that to cargo also. That was one of our solutions, but we chose the Wickman instead.
Thank you.
Pistol, did you have a question? If not, we can talk about Jeff DeGraff's question in the chat.
I have a kind of fun one. So I don't expect you to have thought of this, but if I'm doing psychological operations on the other side of you, I'm having a field day with you dropping missiles on friendly forces. So did you think about that, or did that come up in your conversations? Because it would happen.
Absolutely. And that's one of the reasons why we chose to drop a weapon, because they're not going to see it coming. They're going to just say, oh, I don't know where that weapon went. We have weapons sometimes that don't go exactly where they're planned. Missile, the rockets fail on a miss and they don't make it to their location. They're just going to assume that a missile fell off. Or the real answer is they're probably not going to see it given the distance because it's just a bomb. It's going to be a small package. Is it possible that they can see it? Yes, but more likely than not, they're not even going to see that weapon falling to the ground. So it's going to have that low observable characteristic still. Over.
Yeah, can I build on that? So some logical questions, which are what's the ask? I mean, obviously, say something is $9,000, but that's when we're in full production run, et cetera. So what's the down payment on this? Where do we proof the concept? Let's start with that. Then I want to build on Pistol's question.
So the down payment is, you're right, Dr. DeGraff, they're not in current production. We would have to take one off the shelf. We'd lose one from the inventory. There are options around that, whether we choose a CBU 100, which we have 40,000 extra that we're not using right now. And Ukraine is actually asking for those munitions inside the CBU 100 instead of the Wickman missile. So there's extra bomb bodies once that if that becomes approved by Congress to sell those weapons, where they'll have the actual bodies on hand to replace that with cargo.
Yeah, so that's the first one. But I want to build on what one of the things I think is really brilliant about this presentation is it's a bridge that allows of other things, a lot of other things. So one of the things I'm asking is, well, why is this supply logistics? Why aren't we thinking about, just in time, things we could do in combat, additive manufacturing? There's a ton of stuff. If you can get things to people on the front line, that could greatly diversify the approach of the battle. So let's say you have a particular way in which you're fighting or conducting this battle, and you learn something in the actual engagement, and you have the ability just in time to change the instrumentation, which is what happens all the time in tech companies and biotech companies. Now you're not just supplying things, you're creating a new strategic ability, which actually then affects what you do strategically. You have a capability that's a unique mid-office capability. So it's really building on what Pistol's saying. What else could you do with that? And so I think you did a brilliant job in taking it from the obvious to the next step, but I'd want to see you go farther out. Thoughts?
Spot on, Dr. DeGraff. The whole point is that we can put whatever we want in it. It's agile, it's flexible, and it gives options. It doesn't have to be a tool. It doesn't have to be an MRE. It can be, a new anti-tank missile that we need at the forward troops, like in Ukraine.
Awesome. Great conversation. There's a lot of chatter going on in the chat. And again, we will have breakout rooms. I want to get to some of the other teams, but Biggs, thanks for taking the heat and all the fire there. We're just going to keep moving on, but again, keep the questions going in the chat. So thank you for Team 5. Next up is Team 3, Fries or Chips, with Project Sandman. They were coached by Amy Natalini, Ned Powley, and Marco DiRenzo. Ladies and gentlemen, Team 3.
All right. Looks like I need the previous folks to jump off of screen sharing. Sorry about that. All right. Thank you everyone for being here. Major Will Jaguar. And before I get started, I want everyone to reflect on something. So who here woke up tired? Better yet, who's going to go home feeling exhausted tonight? Who's going to wake up and do it all again tomorrow? Now, yeah, me too. Big thing I want to emphasize is that this is our status quo, but it doesn't have to be this way. Now, what we're asking you to do is help us make our troops' dreams into our enemies' nightmares. Before we dive in, though, I'd like to share a video with you from Dr. Kimberly Dickman, one of our AV specialists and very knowledgeable individuals, that highlights the scale and scope of the fatigue issues across the DoD.
Exhaustion, we've all felt it, from life, from school, from work. We expect our soldiers, sailors, airmen, guardians, and Marines to be combat ready. But sleep deprivation and fatigue are impacting the mission. In the military, it's estimated that $2.1 billion in medical expenses and property damage is due to lack of sleep. 18% of costs from all mishaps is attributed to sleep deprivation. And 1 in 4 of the most severe mishaps is due to fatigue. In March of 2024, the U.S. Government Accountability Office released a report that states that the lack of sleep costs the military money and lives and is decreasing our effectiveness and lethality. The GAO highlights that this is a long-standing and persistent problem for the military for the past 20 years. Fatigue is affecting our pilots, our vehicle operators, maintainers, and others. It's widespread across our forces. Sleep deprivation is defined as 6 hours or less of sleep per night for months on end. And when that happens, the human body is impacted as if we were intoxicated with alcohol. We would never be okay with someone reporting for duty intoxicated, yet that is the state for many across our forces. The GAO and others has shown the need to address fatigue in our military members and has called on a solution to this problem. We propose Project Sandman. Help us make the fight unfair by giving our troops a brain boost by getting the sleep they need. We've done the research and the data is undeniable. We envision a hybrid approach combining circadian rhythm optimization with individual cognitive readiness assessment. Our ask of you is to help us create a significant movement to address this problem and support our members' needs as they serve. We want you to join us in making our service members' dreams our enemy's worst nightmare.
All right, now at this point, you're probably wondering what exactly Project Sandman is all about. Well, in partnership with the Naval Postgraduate School and the 711th Human Performance Wing, we've assembled a comprehensive anti-fatigue strategy combining circadian rhythm optimizations and active cognitive performance monitoring during mission execution. Now, Project Sandman relies on this approach, but the key to note is that these technologies and paradigms already exist. The Naval Postgraduate Schools released a crew endurance handbook that puts fatigue mitigation principles and best practices directly into the hands of their sailors. And the 711th Human Performance Wing has worked on an app called Focus, or Fatigue Optimized Cognition Under Stress, that incorporates individualized performance models and active monitoring to gauge fatigue and provide individual mitigation measures in real time. Now, the big thing I want you to take away is that this is no longer just a nicety, it's an operational imperative. As we move to longer and more complex missions, initiatives like Project Sandman are going to become key enablers for the joint force. So how do we get there from here? We've developed a 4-phase approach that begins with a research summit in the summer of this year to bring together the brightest minds in these fields, along with Air Mobility Command air crews, to devise detailed approaches to achieve the performance targets we've set for ourselves. Now, experiments to evaluate these approaches will then be trialed on the ground with the Naval Postgraduate School and the Air Force Academy. What this will do is validate the approach at ground speed 0 and lay the foundation for Project Sandman to take flight with the Air Force Test Pilot School towards the end of this year. Now, this phase will evaluate Sandman's efficacy in an aerospace environment and deliver a risk versus reliability assessment in preparation for exercise integration. Ultimately, we're looking to establish Project Sandman's viability for informing real-world risk management decisions. The ultimate capstone is going to be integration into a major graded exercise in the summer of next year. We're targeting Mobility Guardian, and the results we hope to obtain from that will demonstrate Sandman's effectiveness in an operationally relevant setting under high-stress conditions. And this, in turn, will allow the project team to refine Sandman into a turnkey solution for AMC aircrews while laying the foundations for future cross-service collaboration. A key point to keep in mind, though, is that these principles informing Sandman aren't just for aircrews. They can apply to any airman or guardian, no matter their career field, across the joint force. The time to act is now. We call upon you to provide the initial assessments in manpower and resources to get Project Sandman airborne. $150,000 can front the venues and TDY travel costs to achieve this research summit. Insights from air crews and academia generated and inform the solutions that we plan to move forward with, and resource support can facilitate the cybersecurity accreditations that our solution will need to put Sandman directly into the hands of our warfighters. If you take nothing else from this presentation, though, take this. The status quo just isn't sustainable anymore. We can't afford to be fighting our basic physiology on top of our adversaries. Sustaining our warfighters' physical and mental readiness is key to unlocking greater combat effectiveness. So 4 phases, 1 year, $150,000 up front to achieve a 40% cognitive performance boost per service member. Now weigh that against another $2.1 billion over 20 years. Factor in the mission degradation and the impacts to our people. The investment in Project Sandman is a no-brainer. We're calling on you to support the strategies and messaging surrounding our project to give our troops the brain boosts that they need. We want you to join us in making our enemies or our service members' dreams into our enemies' worst nightmares. Thank you.
Fantastic. So I think we've all been officially diagnosed now as clinically sleep deprived. And also thank you for getting the song Mr. Sandman stuck in my head. I appreciate that. We have about 8 minutes for questions. So thank you to Team 3 for that. And we'll go to our panelist, Pistol. We will let you have dish out the first question for Team 3, please.
Yeah, so I want to preface this with, I absolutely think this is a critical problem. A childhood friend of mine died on a deployed base due to a sleep deprivation incident that was completely avoidable. Something else that is also extremely important is stopping sexual assault in the military. And I have talked to a lot of senior leaders who are like, I feel like we keep trying to put so many resources into people's hands and it doesn't stop the problem. And it brings me to the thought that there is just something deeply human and deeply cultural about the way how hard we go and how we just can't stop going that hard, right? And I want to tie that to our requirements are only increasing again. My unit has doubled its workload in 2 years. So to tell people now is the time for rest would be a hard sell. So it's breaking apart those 3 issues. This is, as you say, a 20-year problem. This is a cultural issue. And we are also in a time of extremely high requirements. So how do you win that bar fight?
That's a great question. I will start by saying I've actually seen these culture changes throughout my time in the C-130 community. And there was a time where sleep deprivation was almost worn as a badge of honor until we started getting to these points where people were bending metal, breaking aircraft, and hurting themselves. And that brought it to the forefront of people's minds that this is a major problem. Now, the biggest cultural issue that I could see that we've discussed is actually the trust in the system, because this will generate a lot of performance data that can be tied back to a specific individual. So getting people to understand that this is specifically for their own benefit and not for like going after anyone in the event of a mishap is key. And I think the way that we can do that is to anonymize the data and use it in a way similar to MFOQA, Military Flight Operations Quality Assurance. And I think it can take the approach that's similar to the Aviation Safety Action Program, which has now been opened up to airmen across the force. People can report things that happen to themselves, others, and that data is used solely to prevent future mishaps. And from there come recommendations, and it's almost like rolling a snowball downhill. It started off with just a few people adopting, but it gradually gained more and more momentum until it's a huge initiative like it is today. I think that's going to be key in showing people that the system does work, and that this will give them the opportunities they need to fight better, not just longer.
I think there's a place that you could also start. I was at Sam Houston last week with the Army Future Command, and particularly around what's going on with medicine. And I'm sure you understand that what happened after COVID was what we call cognitive overload. And we had a number of, well, if you've read the Hopkins study, a number of deaths because of it. Really picks up on what Pistol says. So we actually have a lot of data on that. And we have a lot of data that's even more to the point of, I think, the next sort of issue of innovation, which is when you have cognitive overload, you also have low cognitive mobility, which means you're not very adaptable. You kind of get stuck in habit patterns. There's a person's work you should really look at. One of my former colleagues, very famous man named Carl Weick, and he would look at firefighters and why firefighters would be burnt up, why they wouldn't follow command, why they wouldn't follow adaptive mindset maneuvers. They would be burned up in the field, right? And so the whole issue is it's not just that they're tired. It's that the basic adaptive capability, the plasticity of the mind goes away, right? So I think you could not only make the case of not only, they put people in harm's way, but they probably can't complete the mission. Just like a surgeon probably can't handle it. And there's a tool that they use in medicine called the Lombardi method, which has to do with how they manage it, how they manage the cognitive overload. What I love about what you've done is you have two things that I think are really critical that everybody here can use. Search and reapply. Somebody's already invented something, right? And there are all the pieces that are already invented. That's why we have the great research universities and why we have the great tech companies. What we have to do then, what you're doing, which I really want to congratulate you, is you have to piece it together into a solution. The other part I want to give you high marks for is the test. It's proof of concept, and I like that you phase this out, right? Step 1, step 2, step 3. What I would have liked to have known, but we don't have enough time for this, would be what are the course corrections at each phase if it doesn't work? I'm very big on counterfactual information, right? What did we learn from that thing that went kaboom, right? So that allows you real credibility and real shaping. So the object is to go big, but in a small way, right? And I think your process does that. And it's just a sort of a general call out to everybody. You got to do a little dumpster diving to figure out who's already solved this problem. What I love about it's the Navy already solved it. Anchors away.
Thank you, Dr. DeGraff. Actually, that is something that we've thought about at a very high level. I'm happy to jump into the breakout room after the fact if you want a little more info.
I think that was a thumbs up. That's perfect. Thanks, Will. That's a good pitch for the breakout room. So
Randy's got his hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Randy.
Hey, thank you. I just wanted to add a few things, I guess. So as a pilot, I've had a lot of training on sleep deprivation because it's so part and parcel to the job. I really want to give a shout out to Pistol. I think her comments are absolutely spot on. So really appreciate what you had to say there. And all I'll throw out for the team's benefit is I really see two particular challenges in terms of trying to. I think scaling this is the challenge, right? Who doesn't need help with this? I think in the military, probably everybody does. And so there are two things I'd offer. And one is when you talk about proactively monitoring, I think there's a question of policy when it comes to things like wearables and protecting people's information. And so, I just want to offer that if you haven't already butted up against that, that's a thing. Human performance optimization is an emphasis point in our service right now. And that's just something that we're wrestling with. So I'll offer that. And then the other one is really on the scaling front, just in terms of the resources required. I think the key here would be similar to the one that was discussed a moment ago on logistics, or even the drone idea, where we're talking about this idea of being able to generate mass in a different way. I think that if we can get to low cost and practical solutions that are new and unique and usable by every airman in the Air Force's case, I think that would be an outstanding outcome because there's a lot of human performance optimization ideas out there that cost a lot when you put them at scale. And so I'll just offer that those are two issues that I think need to be tackled as you continue to march forward with this one, but I think it's an important project for sure.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I'll just close by saying this is also something that we're working to bring to half A5's attention. They've already expressed interest in it, and so has Air Mobility Command. They see the need for this kind of thing, and we are hoping to use that to generate the momentum that we need. The resourcing piece is a huge nugget or a huge nut to crack, but we do envision a game plan to move forward from that. Thank you.
Awesome. Great job, Team 3. Appreciate that. Our final pitch will be from Team 1, the Prismatic Unicorns, presenting Project EchoLink. They were coached by Jeff Mitchell and Jeroen Fransen. Ladies and gentlemen, if we're ready for the share over there, Team 1. Here we go. If anyone's talking, we can't hear.
Thank you so much, Mo. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Freya Slocum, and I'm really excited to represent Team Prismatic Unicorns today, showcasing our project EchoLink. Prior to showing you all our video,
You're muted again.
is this better?
You're good now. Yep.
Sweet. So sorry about that, guys. So prior to showcasing you our video, I want to briefly highlight what our initial challenge question was at the beginning of this process, which was how can we increase small team deliverability and some of the operational challenge set terms that we came up with. Picture this. It is 2027 and we are in a conflict with China. Our steadfast capabilities that have proven effective in past conflicts, such as our satellites, AWACS, and other airborne sensing assets, are now the primary target of our adversary due to the size of our sensors, how detrimental it would be to lose our eyes and ears in the sky, and the cost it takes to replace even one of these assets. How can we remain resilient, agile, and ensure effective combat deployment as small teams attempt to meet their commander's intent? After over 200 hours of extensive research, interviewing members of the Department of Defense and battle management capability, we propose a simple, resilient, low-cost, and effective application. By embedding EchoLink onto mobile devices, we can turn our small teams into active and passive sensors, decentralizing the collection of information and allow small teams to report aircraft sightings, intercept sound waves, and pick up abnormal frequencies. Instead of just a top-down view of the region, you now have created a 360-degree image of the operational battle space and created flexibility and survivability for our assets in the Pacific. Because of the decentralized data flow of EchoLink, our teams will function as a flexible early warning system to create an offensive image of the battle space, providing an increase to the critical window of time for decision makers and enable more informed decision-making during the conflict with China. Our ask today is for the funding to create this application for mobile devices, which will be given to small teams, and allow for the testing and refinement of this application in the upcoming 2025 exercises. Thank you so much for your time and consideration. Our goal for EchoLink is to enable combat airmen on small teams with DoD cellular devices and embed them with EchoLink. We are currently working on securing additional funding from government sponsors to enable the creation of EchoLink and the ability to incorporate the testing of this application into 2025 exercises. I would now like to pass off and introduce Matt Botts, who will outline more of the thought process as well as the mechanics behind EchoLink.
Good afternoon, good day, everyone. Matt Botts here. Resiliency, redundancy, and rate are our keywords as they are centered around increasing the critical window of time for decision-making in a denied distributed environment, decentralized and ubiquitous sensing capability, and software-defined application for low-cost, scalable deployment. The lessons learned from the Ukrainian conflict have led us to EchoLink. With EchoLink, we look to complete the circle and give not only the traditional top-down God's eye approach to understanding the battlefield, but a more bottom-up approach that completes the 360 understanding. Imagine not having to employ big-ticket items like dishes, vehicles, and other shoot-me-here equipment put in harm's way, but being able to share the information gathered from fast-moving aircraft, missiles, UAVs, and USVs over a network of network DoD-provided cellular devices, allowing the data points to be shared to our other services, our allies, and partners, so that we as a coalition may have a common shared operating picture. Waze took a similar approach to traffic management. Traffic helicopters and reporters and vehicles were few and far between, much like our current battle management ecosystem. They were also very costly if one or more were deemed non-mission capable. Waze was introduced and started to crowdsource as a lightweight application on every phone and using the vehicle telemetry to build a traffic picture from the roads up. From this, it spread country to country, and with it, traffic management and understanding is almost without teaching. Shot Detector, also an algorithm embedded in an app, was created to vector in counterfire during near real time during the global war on terrorism, allowing forces to detect sniper, mortar, and missile fire on FOBs and larger bases in theaters of operation. Echolink will look to do the same, as it will enable high-dollar items such as an AWACS, which is a $250 million item, to not be so close to the bleeding edge and therefore risk itself, but have the ability to absorb the data coming from the application and information from the distributed network. We're currently negotiating with tried and trusted DoD software factory Bespin for development and deployment of this application. Additionally, we would like to recognize Brigadier General Shannon O'Haron from 16th Air Force for his final sponsorship. In closing, Echolink, a resilient, redundant, financially smart technology application that satisfies not just the Air Force, but the other services and our allies and partners. And as the video portion of this pitch is explained, we look to incorporate the application into the exercise seasons for 2025 and even sooner if project development allows. And with that said, I'll now pass it back to Freya to close.
On behalf of my teammates and I, thank you guys so much for your time today. And if you are interested in remaining up to date with Project Echolink or have questions, comments, or feedback for us, please feel free to scan the QR code and we will reach out to you. We're excited and we look forward to the potential of you joining our team as this project proceeds into the future. The rest of my team, Samir, Matt Evers, and our global friends who are stationed out in Japan, Mike and Shelley, are currently online with us today to take any questions that you guys have.
Fantastic. Thank you, guys. To all of Team One, you guys all around the globe, appreciate that. General Oakland, you get to present the first question to Team One. Over to you, sir.
Outstanding. Well, I'm the ATC A3 and 6, and so on the 6 hat part of my job, I was actually really going to just press the issue of cybersecurity, but I think you addressed it at the end when you said you got to sponsor a 16th Air Force. So I got to believe that if you got a sponsor there, they're thinking cybersecurity. So I won't really highlight that. I'll just say I think some version of this has to be part of the future. I think there are a lot of questions about how. And what else might we want it to do? So I guess the one thing I would offer is just in terms of the concept, when we think about trying to ensure this, I really like the expression of resilience, redundancy, and rate. Really, that was a great capture. I wrote that down. I thought that was spot on. But when we think about what we want these devices to do or the information associated with them, I think that we could probably generate multiple effects beyond just whether it's position awareness or battle space awareness, whatever you want to call it. I think there could be other things that we might consider doing with that information and build it into the plan. So I like this idea. I think there's a lot of space to grow it and consider how else it could be used beyond kind of the primary purpose. Once again, there's just so much room to run here, but really no pushback. I think some version of this has to be what we do. And there was a point that was made in the chat a moment ago about how we can really sort of dirty up the picture with too much data. And I would not argue that point at all. I think that's a valid concern. But if we're going to be able to leverage the tools at our disposal in a future fight, we're going to have to figure out how to clean that picture up and do it better than our enemy can. That's what we're going to have to do. And so there's a compute and store aspect of that. There's a tools associated with that question. So lots of how in my mind, but conceptually, I really don't know how we fight leveraging the tools we have that we should be the best at unless we can do something like this. So I think it's a great pitch. I really appreciated the work on it. Over.
Thank you, sir.
Any other panel members have a question?
Yeah, so I mean, how much did you use Bellingcat as an example? I mean, that was such a primary example for you to use of sometimes the best innovations are not going out and finding like the new exquisite thing. It's leveraging what already exists in mass. And I think the nod to allies is really important. And so my question is, how much more work did you talk about to any other countries that might be interested in this, like that they would be willing to work with us? Because NATO does a year-long, basically, war game exercise every year on interoperability of communication systems and, tracking systems, because obviously all these different countries use different platforms. And if there's something that was readily available to load, that could be a game changer. So did you bring that aspect into your research?
We did. So in my other hats, I traveled between PACOM and UCOM a lot for different symposiums and offer my expertise. So the PACOM last summer, I sat in the J5's office and he said, I cannot share with my Australian counterpart who sits across the wall from me. So I don't care about all your SAP and all your intel and everything else. Like, how do I just send her an email? So this being in its root source, being just an application that you download and put onto a phone, all the data and information is not intelligence. So it's just being hoovered up. So when we go into a fight in the Pacific, being able to share it with not only our traditional partners, but our non-traditional partners as well, as we are, and using Ukraine as an example, where they're buying PVC poles and strapping phones to it and putting a microphone next to it. I mean, that's the poor man's version, but as one of the slides brought up, they're 84 for 84 for detecting incoming drone swarms and shooting down 80 of those 84. So just being able to pass this on to the international partners, because we are a small fish in a big pond in the Pacific, and whatever we can do to try to leverage our partners and the different island chains and the different land masses is going to be key.
I just want to pull the thread on that, because so you spoke to the tech interoperability. Did you get a feel for what I guess I'm gonna call it the political appetite would be for being willing to share this data across countries? Because we deal with that absolutely all the time in NATO.
So because it's data, it's not classified, unlike what we in the US deal with, the 3 different classification levels. So it's just data. It's like me sending a text to somebody. So it doesn't fall in the classification realms. Now, the organizations have the ability at that point in time to port up, but since it's coming in at the bare bones bottom level, it should not be an issue.
Hey, Matt, would you mind if we invited General O'Haron into the discussion? Just really would look forward to hearing his perspective.
Absolutely. He's dialed in just for that reason.
Over to you, sir.
Yeah, can you hear me? This is Brigadier General O'Haron.
Yeah, we've got you loud and clear. Go ahead.
Okay, wonderful. Well, thanks for letting me be a part of this. I also wear 2 hats. My other hat is I run a small team for the Secretary of Defense. So we're focused on a very unique problem set, and it's really through that lens that I see immediate application of this. So I guess one statement that I would make, and 2 questions that may be very applicable across the board and to a lot of other presentations as well. So I don't necessarily make the assumption that we have the data we need to close the information and/or intelligence gaps that exist and can help us quickly adjust operations dynamically. So when my specific question is, do you intend to develop your application using open standards so the data and/or the insights can be shared quickly? And you use the example of interoperability, whether in NATO with our Pacific, partners across the Pacific, that needs to take place very quickly in dynamic environments, independent of how individual countries will choose to classify or not classify that information. The exchange of information I see kind of through a separate lens, but it needs to happen quickly. My second question is, why should I choose your team versus attempting to contract out for this capability with some IT application developer or a large DoD contractor, for example?
So answering the second question first, using our resources in-house, Bespin is the Air Force's sole mobile application development factory, and they're tried and true, and they are pushing stuff out not only for the Air Force, but they are also building international partnerships that already leverage those. And since the open source technology will be there, they will have the ability to share through tours or some type of agreement between the nation states in order to bring in the international interoperability. And if you could restate your first question again.
Sure. It's do you intend to basically develop this application using open standards? So
absolutely. So it wouldn't be us. It wouldn't be us developing it. Bespin would be the deployment and development arm, and that's one of their tried and true open standard CI/CD pipeline. They're using industry best practices between their partnership within the services, the different academic institutions, and their industry partners.
Yeah. To follow up on your question, General, that's kind of the beauty of partnering with Bespin is, the mobile software development kits are out there to be mobile architecture forward first, providing more flexibility and rapidity of deployment and experimentation rather than being kind of beholden to maybe policy or bureaucratic or programming constraints from an official program. And it's also allowing you to kind of pick the best of breed and adapt as the technology develops or as the use cases may be modified.
Happy to address any questions from the overall team as well.
Sir, I think a good time to do that would be in the breakout rooms at the end, because then I think we can get into more detailed questions and answers. But really appreciate you coming with the team. This is a really valuable and says a lot about the support you're giving them. So thank you for being here.
Thank you.
And I want to thank Team 1, and I see you have the possible futures up there as a backup slide. I appreciate that. And thank you to all the teams for the excellent pitches and great job. We appreciate because all the great chatter that's going on and all the connection that's going on there. And again, like I said, we'll have the teams available in breakout rooms after the showcase. Speaking of breakout rooms, we are going to send the panel members now to the panel member breakout room. You guys can have snacks, drinks, and deliberations over the team's presentations. Esteemed panel members, you should see a button at the bottom of your screen to join the breakout room. And while our panelists deliberate, we have the distinct pleasure of welcoming back 3 alumni. Paul Ellis, who's also a current coach for this cohort, Becky Gorman, who loves my puns, and Yuri Marte to share how they use what they've learned in Project Mercury and also to discuss the newly founded Project Mercury Alumni Board. And they will be joined by Dr. Ethan Eagle, who's the head coach of multiple Project Mercury cohorts and workshops. Make sure you throw any questions into the chat. Ethan, we will hand it over to you.
Awesome. Thanks, Mo. And thanks everybody for being here. The showcase is like watching the birds fly out of the nest. Don't send your ducks to Eagle School, is I believe what Johnny Barnes used to say. So it is with great pleasure I get to sit and moderate a fireside chat with some of my absolute favorite Mercury alumni, Becky, Yuri, and Paul. Talking about fatigue and sleep, Paul has been just an outstanding contributor from Okinawa for the last, I guess 40 cohorts at this point. I think Paul is, he's part of the fossil record, certainly in Project Mercury. So I just really wanted to shout out Chief Ellis, not just for coaching the teams, but for being that the really Q&A and support for all of the folks that have been participating from Japan Standard Time. I now use in all of my workshops the opener, is your innovation worth getting up at 3 a.m. for? Because that's the kind of dedication that we're seeing from these folks out of Japan Standard Time. Paul told me not to praise him, so he can just live with that embarrassment or pride or whatever, but we, and I really love him for all of that, the commitment. I want to give everybody a chance to introduce themselves and what they brought up from Project Mercury, but I wanted to just share some gratitude off the top. Project Mercury does not succeed without coaching. And for all the members who have had a great coach versus where we had a coach, there is a wide spectrum of what good coaching can look like. And Becky and Yuri and Paul all demonstrate in different ways what excellent coaching can look like. Paul has a very, he's well known for sort of the let's throw a grenade in the room and shut the door. And there's a lot of reaction, right? We got to react to what Paul thinks about our idea. Yuri was a very steady, encouraging presence. You can, I mean, I already get good vibes just like seeing Yuri on the screen. I could get fired by Yuri and be like, wow, that was amazing. This is the right decision. So he delivers feedback in just such a way that makes it like, I needed to hear that. And this is the thing that is going to bring me forward. And it is extraordinarily rare in my experience. We talk about the prismatic thinking, ad nauseum, but the red profile, the like control profile, is so antithetical to my teaching style that people just flee. They do not tend to like me, except for somehow Becky Gorman. Becky is just meticulous in everything that she does. And she is so tremendous and so diligent that I don't think, she came through in cohort 3. Many of the things that we're going to talk about in the fireside chat today wouldn't have been possible without her steady kind of like disciplined note taking and, hey, who's following up in that? So everybody here is bringing something a little bit different. We got red, we got yellow, we got blue. I think that makes me the green one. I'm not quite sure. But let me pass the baton around. I'd like Becky, Yuri, and Paul to share. Again, this is a little bit, we're going to be graduating this cohort 12. But just to share a little bit of that, like dot connecting, how do we translate this into operations and tactics? Mercury's a strategy course. I think it talks about winning a bar fight and being really innovative. Man, I gotta okay, well, what's next? Like, how do I come to the unit level and really start to do something different? So I'd love to hear just your reflections on that. And again, a brief intro, like how are you using this Mercury curriculum and training in your, we call them Project Next, but whatever you want to call them. We'll do Becky and then Yuri and then Paul.
Hi, I was actually going to say I'll kick it over to Paul and Yuri because they probably have more ops stuff, but I'll start. Becky Gorman came through cohort 3. Ethan said that team collaborative tissue with our name and had a good sponsor and pitch, and our stuff's still kind of going strong. But
Becky had a good sponsor. Dave Alvin had a good spot, right? That is the underselling of the century. Please go ahead.
Well, we're in the Pentagon, so I feel like we have proximity,
Yeah.
But the thing, well, one, I'll say, and I've said this in a couple of other things and a couple of like a workshop here and there. Like I went through cohort 3. I loved it. I've coached in 4 and 5. I coached 10 and 11. I tried to kind of help in 12 as much as I can. Like I'm fully bought in to Project Mercury and what it does. It was the best education and training I've ever probably gotten in the 20 years I've worked for DoD. I'm still wanting to be involved, even if I can only do like 10% of my time. I'm like, how can I help? Even if I'm just like giving a few notes on something. So for me, it's been wonderful seeing just the cohorts over the years, and I love Project Mercury and sticking around with it. But the big things that I always take away that I still feel like I use, and not necessarily like the thing that I've done next, but it's this the whole competing values framework and thinking prismatically. That's just been useful. Knowing my dominant logic, trying to understand someone else's dominant logic, the whole how to win a bar fight. Like if I think red and yellow, like is my like dominant way of thinking, if I'm going to pitch someone and I know they're very green, I'm going to have to really adjust how I pitch, or better yet, I know that it's not my strength. I need to go get a green person to come help me. So it's the building the team, knowing your strengths, the things that you don't have, I think it was Ethan once said was like, there's a reason they only give your first 2 in that iGenome. We don't want you thinking about your weaknesses. You'll focus on that. The point is, own your strengths, do them, and the things that you aren't as strong at, go find people to fill those. So that's kind of the things that I keep
Becky,
in mind.
Totally tremendous. There is there's so much coaching that goes into, oh, I've learned over the years that I need to retreat from my dominant logic because I, as an individual, am supposed to be, I'm supposed to be even keeled. In the Project Mercury environment, so often I have to find blues and be like, no, I need you to go be blue. I need you to be yourself because that's what the team needs. And so often the people come through this experience and they're like, I'm trying to just, we all need to be uniform, right? And I get it, you got to wear the uniform. But in this innovation space, right, we want to find people's talents and we want to bring them out. Yuri, that comes back to this coaching mantra. You were featured on a coaching podcast, but just what is the role for you of coaching in this, in the state of innovation? We operate with coaches. How do you operationalize that? What's the tactics? What are the things, right? Where is the mentorship and coaching in the innovation space, and how are you developing it up at Hanscom?
Yeah, great question. So first of all, Yuri Marte, I graduated Cohort 8. My team, the 5-Eyed Ravens, we focused on disinformation, combating disinformation and misinformation. I returned back to coach with Cohort 9. I fell in love with the program all over again, and I think it was mentioned earlier where it's that sense of ambiguity, and then towards the end, which many of you probably feel right now, is that sense of clarity of like, okay, everything kind of now makes sense. And what I started doing after the coaching and the workshops that I was involved in, I brought it over to Hanscom, where I'm currently at. And my main thing was establishing a common language across the different squadrons, the different leaders, and that went all the way from the airman level, the lowest level, all the way to the highest level on the installation. So then that way we can commonly talk about what it is that we're trying to get after and have a clear understanding of how we go about those different things that we're trying to achieve. And I think Becky nailed it when she said the competing values framework and the importance of having those strengths and those shortfalls that you may have, and then how you link that and create that team. So what I've done as a coach and as an advisor is exactly that, just showing people the different opportunities that exist in the space when you understand where you show up, and then what you can pull from others to make that team and make that project that you're working on a success.
Tell me a little bit more, Yuri. Jeff likes to say the cavalry isn't coming. Who are you? Why are you the one pulling this culture and community competency at Hanscom together? Like, if I'm a graduate of Mercury, how do I be more like Yuri Marte and try and pull together that community? Or where's the tip of the spear? How do I, again, operationally or tactically, bring the things that I've learned here and start making a difference, day 0 as a graduate?
And that's exactly it. The cavalry isn't coming. And that's one of the things I realized. So then at that point, I had to take matters into my own hand, and taking the lessons that I learned through my experience, through going through the cohort, and then coming back as a coach. And what I would advise anyone to do is, right now you're equipped with lessons. You have a tool, a skill set that you can impart on somebody that didn't have the opportunity to go through these 13 weeks. So what I did was I went to the command chief and the commander and basically gave them a wrap up of, this is what I just went through. This is the experience that I underwent. And how can you allow me to share this experience with others? After participating in one of the workshops that we went to Joint Base San Antonio, I took the 101 lessons that we shared in that TDY, and I restructured it for the ALS team and then for the first term enlisted course members. And I've been doing that ever since. And then I got some other folks on base involved, kind of went through a mini workshop with them. And again, it was establishing that common language. And now we have individuals walking around having a better understanding of what the competing values framework is, how they can take an innovative idea and walk it through from step one of not knowing what the problem is. How do I now understand the problem? How do I make this problem real to somebody else? And then pitch it to the commander, just like all of you have done today. And it's basically taking those same lessons and applying it to your individual location, because you know it best. You know what the shortfalls are. You know where things are, who the movers and shakers are. And my recommendation is go to them and express to them what you've just gone through, and sell them on that experience. There's a lot of valuable information that you're walking away from today and this past 13 weeks that many people just are not privy to. And it's a great opportunity to share and propagate this culture, competency, and community.
Yeah, and we're here to help, right? So this, the idea of this alumni board has been percolating between this group and some others for the last 6 or 9 months. But it's really exciting for me to sort of say, like, we're doing it. May 2024 to May 2025, we're going to see what happens when we call out some of our alumni. Paul, I wanted to move the conversation over to you to talk a little bit about how what we're envisioning with that alumni board is scaling some of these workshop opportunities. So Yuri mentioned these, he attended a workshop and got to bring some things back from that. Paul, I know you've also brought, we had a PMIW, Project Mercury Innovation Workshop, virtual workshop. Tell me a little bit about that experience, that hybrid experience, and what came of it with your team out at PACAF.
No, definitely. First, I'll introduce myself. I came through Cohort 4. Becky was actually my coach for Team Out of 8. And I came back, I don't know if I'm on the 6th, 7th, I don't know which cohort straight it's been, but long hours here. But to go what you're talking about with the virtual Project Mercury Innovation Workshop, what it was an application of everything that the team has learned here, but really condensed. And they actually got to get after something they were passionate about. They actually brought something that they wanted to the table. So for those who don't know, the team we actually have, it started off as a Project Lifesaver, going after how do we give blood in those small teams in a deployed location where you're by yourself. You don't have a lab tech, you don't have the blood supply, you're by yourself, and you've got to be able to survive. The team went through the iterations, worked with the Army Rangers, worked with the Marines, the Navy, figure out how they did this, and linked with Special Ops. We actually just did our second FTX of going through this actual process here locally on Team Kadena. But it transitioned to where we actually, because of the motivation of the team, we actually submitted our project through the Air Force Spark Tank. And out of 136 teams that were submitted, we were one of 6 Spark Tank finalists. So if you go out there, you can Google Project LeBoy. And just for a little background, why the name changed from Project Lifesaver to Project LeBoy. We actually, if you don't remember, Gundam 22, the Osprey that went down, members that helped work on that project. And so in honor of him, we renamed it to Project LeBoy. So his take was really getting after saving lives and getting people back out there. So that's where it came from. And I encourage, and also on top of that, I think 2 of them joined the next cohort for Project Mercury, and the other 3 are in the current coming class for Project Mercury, because they saw what they learned from there and the applications that can be done from the training. It's limitless, and we're living it here at Team Kadena.
Awesome, Paul. The judges are back. I want to wrap this conversation up in 30 seconds and say this. This alumni board, these 3 folks plus me, are very interested in building the Committee of 10. If you don't know what the Committee of 10 is, look it up. That Committee of 10 is going to help Mercury write the State of Innovation report, right? We're going to collect this 4 years of data that we've generated with over 400 alumni. What is the state of Air Force innovation, and how can this Committee of 10 help us be a more rigorous sponsor and stakeholder reporting mechanism? We want to share the success stories of our alumni and capture the success stories of other innovation efforts. If you are interested in that, we want to hear from you. So please reach out. Yuri, Becky, and myself will be canvassing the Mercury Alumni Network. And if you are a recent graduate, you are more than welcome to take a leadership role. There is whoever put it in the chat, right? If not you, who? If not now, when? So with that, tremendous to see Becky and Yuri and Paul on the line. Paul, looking forward to see you in the flesh out in the Asia Pacific region this fall. So with that, I will end our fireside chat and pass it back over to you, Mo.
All right. Thanks, Ethan, Becky, Yuri, and Paul. Appreciate that. And welcome back to our esteemed panel members. I know you guys had difficult deliberations, and we all know that you could have continued the insightful discussions forever. But if the Golden Bachelor couple, Jerry and Teresa, have taught us anything, it's that forever is a relative term, or really it's just about 3 months. All that to say, we are anxious to hear who won which award. So first up, the people have voted and the votes are in. The People's Choice Award recognizes the team that worked on solving a real problem with a real solution, as well as having that wow factor. And the winner is, drum rolls if you please, the winner is Team 2 Hide and Seek. Congratulations. All right. There are 4 prismatic awards, and up for grabs for the team who most embodies each category, the spirit of each category, in the innovation genome or competing values framework. Jesse is going to present the SAGE Award, which represents the innovation genome yellow quadrant. And this award will go to the team that best exemplified collaboration values and a focus on doing things that last. Jesse, the screen is yours.
Appreciate it. First of all, really refreshing to be amongst a cohort that is obviously doing the work on the ground from the warfighter perspective. There's so much hype and expensive tech and primes and things going on to really be immersed in a group that is spending the time doing this while doing their day jobs. Employing these types of things that have been developed is really refreshing. So thank you all. Thrilled to see a program like this exists. The Innonators take the the SAGE Award. We all felt that at the end of the day, it comes down to people, and that cross talk and cultural familiarity is an imperative. We definitely had some feedback in regards to some insights that we would like to share with the team, but just the very simple fact of bringing people together right now across country lines and cultural lines is an absolute imperative. So well done for nailing that, and happy to connect offline to share additional feedback.
Awesome. Thank you, Jesse, and congrats to Team Innonators. Next up, Pistol. Julie Janson will present the Artist Award, which represents the Innovation Genome Green Quadrant. This award goes to the team that best exemplified creation, novelty, and a focus on doing new things. Pistol, the microphone is yours.
So first of all, congratulations to all of you. This is one of the strongest cohorts I've seen in a while, and I've been through quite a few. So just some really excellent work. I am a green through and through, and what I'm looking for in a green idea is something that makes me want to say, how dare you? How dare you? And how dare you suggest that fighter jets deliver logistics? I love it. So Project Dragonfly, so green. You are my people. I love you.
Fantastic. Congratulations. And Julie, how dare you? Thank you so much. Next, General Oakland will present the Athlete Award, which represents the Innovation Genome Blue Quadrant. And this award goes to the team that excelled in competition, speed, and had a focus on doing things now. General Oakland, over to you, sir.
Okay, thanks. So unlike Pistol, I have no idea if I'm green, yellow, or blue, or any color, frankly. But in terms of the competition for the Athlete Award, we had a lot of great inputs from across the panel, and it was clear that the prismatic unicorns are the winners. Resilience, redundancy, and rate really stuck in my head, and the need is real for that one right now. So really appreciate the great work on that, and congratulations.
Fantastic. Thank you, General Oakland, and congratulations to the Prismatic Unicorns. Finally, our very own Jeff DeGraff will present the Engineer Award, which represents the Innovation Genome Red Quadrant. And this award goes to the team that exemplified control, process systems, and a focus on doing things right every time. Jeff, I hand the controls to you.
Yeah, I want to congratulate so many of the teams because they implemented a lot of things that were both green and red. So we had a little trouble with this one. But in the end, we gave it to fries and chips. And why we really liked it is you did your homework, you built on what was already there, your systematic solution had a pretty clear pathway to market. This is something that we think could scale relatively in a straightforward way. So congratulations to chips, to fries or chips. I think fries is the answer, but congratulations and hats off to our red team.
You got to be careful then. Like Julie's going to say, how dare you call fries and chips? And I think they're crisps, aren't they? I could be wrong though. Okay. Yeah. See, there's already controversy in the chat. All right. So thank you, Jeff, and congratulations, team fries or chips. General Oakland, we're now going to turn it back over to you to announce the Innovation Excellence Award, which recognizes the team that exemplified the spirit of innovation by tackling a wicked problem, taking risk, and stepping outside of silos to bring an implementable and valuable novel product to a stakeholder. General Oakland, back to you, sir.
All right, great words. I'm going to go back to what Jesse said. Really refreshing to be in this cohort of people who are doing practical things to solve practical problems, and not getting all the bluster that comes, as Jesse described it, from the primes a lot of times. So for the overall award, I'll go back to what I said a moment ago about the need being real, and our overall winner, despite incredible effort across the board, is going to be the Prismatic Unicorns with their innovation project.
Fantastic. Thank you, General Oakland, and congratulations to our Innovation Excellent Award-winning team, Prismatic Unicorns. Panel members, thank you all for your time and your commitment to these innovative ideas presented by Project Mercury Cohort 12 teams, and congratulations to all the winners. And of course, everyone's a winner here today because today is graduation day. Now, the individuals on these slides have developed the culture, competency, and communities needed to help their units embrace a more innovative mindset. Individuals who complete all the course requirements will be awarded a Certified Professional Innovator Certificate from the University of Michigan's School of Engineering. Our accomplished innovators are now part of the Project Mercury Alumni Network. You now have the responsibility of being change agents that our units and the Department of Air Force needs. Next, we want to recognize a very special group of people passionate about innovation and personal growth, and those are our coaches. We have doubled their volunteer salary from the last cohort just to keep up with the COVA, which is the cost of volunteering allowance. They pour ingenuity and dedication into their role as Project Mercury coaches. They continue growing as innovation leaders as well. Congratulations to our new coaches, Jeff Mitchell, Jerron Franson, Ralph Peter, Dolly Morales, John Reeves, and Tony Evangelista. And thank you to our experienced and returning coaches, Paul Ellis, Amy Natalini, Mary Beth Slocum, Laura Wilson, and Cleo Smith. We'd also like to recognize two guest coaches from the Naval Postgraduate School, Ned Powley and Marco DiRenzo, who brought their expertise to help coach one of our teams. To all of the coaches, your wisdom and experience help make this magic happen. Now, the coaches selected team MVPs who showed extraordinary dedication, leadership, and teamwork. The MVPs are as follows. Team 1, Matt Evers. Team 2, Mike Fowler. Team 3, Will Jaguar. Team 4, Katie Savitas. Team 5, Jared Pino. Team 6, Thomas Belka. Congratulations to all of the MVPs. Now I'm going to hand it back over to Jeff DeGraff, the Dean of Innovation, for the traditional coin presentation.
Yeah, first of all, thank you to all of you. This was wonderful. Congratulations on the accomplishment. You went above and beyond. It's your turn now to teach other people how to do this. This is the idea. The idea is see one, do one, teach one. This is how you build dynastic capability, dynastic culture, right? So we're really counting on you because skill is all you have. There's always going to be new technology. There's always going to be another box you got to check. But at the end of the day, if you have capability to make things better and new, which is what innovation is about, you can take that with you beyond the military in all aspects of your life. As Mo said, you're all going to get a certificate of completion, which will be recorded, incidentally, in the College of Engineering, the Burzer's office here at the University of Michigan that says you've completed it. you'll get a coin. I know how you guys are about challenge coins that says Project Mercury, and on the other side, it's kind of got all the other pieces. So, you know, I know all your tricks. You have to buy drinks if you wear a hat, or if you don't have your coin, or, you know, whatever you want to do with it, you can do with it. It's up to you. I want a special thanks to the panel. I thought Randy and Jesse and Pistol were fantastic. I want to call out Jim Drzansky. I want to call out Ethan Eagle and the amazing coaches. There's a whole bunch of people in the back office that did a great job. But most importantly, I really want to call out the alumni who have stepped up and helped with this over and over and over again. That's how we develop the ability to do this at scale and sustain this over time. So very proud of all of you. Thank you all. Turn it back over to Mo. Take us home.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. I'm actually going to let General Oakland take us home. So, sir, over to you for closing comments.
Okay, thanks. Really appreciate the amazing work that was done by all of these teams. And, you know, if you take this whole thing a level up, you know, really it's the part about embracing change, you know, seeing a reality and embracing change and being willing to work a tough problem. You know, those are going to be things that we're going to need. And as a warfighter, I'll just say, if I was to take every single one of the projects that were briefed here today and presented with me into the next fight, I guarantee I would find an application for every one of them, and they would matter to me in trying to win that fight. So won't take anything away from the point about how innovation applies everywhere, but I will say it definitely applies in warfighting when you're fighting a determined enemy, and that's the kind of enemy we're going to fight. So incredible job. Really appreciate the work that went in to developing out the presentations and the collaboration. That was really stuck out to me as my first time being a part of this event, was the collaborative nature across a bunch of different kinds of expertise. And again, that's something I think that you know we need to continue to foster and pursue. It will matter as we're trying to compete in a great power competition or in the next fight. So to all the participants, really appreciate what you did here. Somebody already highlighted it, but recognize you have other jobs to do besides this. We also have no limit to how much critical thought will be required as we compete in great power competition and in a conflict. And so I think this is really something that fosters that critical thinking and the collaboration that I already mentioned. So you can be really proud of what you did here and taking the courageous step of presenting some new ideas, a new way of thinking about something, and certainly a lot of ideas that I think are going to play out and be really important as we move forward with planning. So thanks for going above and beyond. Certainly to our panel members, I appreciate being a part of your panel. It was great to meet all of you, our coaches, as were already highlighted. I'll give a personal thanks to the Project Mercury team and Air University for letting me be a part of this. Certainly a rewarding way to spend a couple hours of my day, and so I really appreciate that. And so take your coins, be proud of the work you did. It was awesome, and if you can consider yourself a proud alumni of Project Mercury, I think that's something to celebrate. So really appreciate it. Again, thanks to everyone for letting me be a part of it, and I hope you all have a great afternoon, evening, morning, whatever it happens to be, wherever you are. I appreciate it. Out here.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. And welcome to the innovation cult. And it is a pyramid scheme, meaning you guys each have to tell 3 people at least about this. I believe there is a coin check in Portugal, as I saw in the chat too. So make sure you use those appropriately and often. This concludes our showcase. So thank you to our esteemed panel members, our coaches, our students, and to you, their supporters. And also a really big thank you to Air University, which is now in the 4th year of sponsorship of this great program. We're going to have 7 breakout rooms open, 1 for each team and 1 for the judges. Public math, that should be 7. We're going to leave the breakout rooms open for about 30 minutes. You can have your informal Q&A, practice your coin checks. Thank you again. Keep the conversations going and keep innovating.
Thanks, Mo. That was tremendous. As always, really appreciate all your energy, and congratulations to all the graduates.